All right, now we're good. It's recording now.
I'd like to call the Ashland County Forestry Department meeting, April 7th, 2021 to order. Let's start with the agenda. We'll do roll call first. Gary Mertig.
Here.
Kathy Schutte here. John Weiner.
On the phone call.
Is he muted?
No, unmuted.
John Weiner, I know you're on the phone. We'll go to Marty.
Oh, here we go. Try it now once.
John Weiner.
It says in waiting room. Well, we kind of disconnected. I clicked on his name and it disconnected him, so maybe he'll try and call back in.
Okay. Marty Vitek.
Yep.
Rich Huber.
Yes.
We're going to put John Weiner as present because he's on the computer. All right. So we need an approval for the minutes for the February meeting.
Also move that we accept the minutes.
Motion by Rich and seconded by Marty to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Request for public comments or invited guests. Anybody here? Bruce? One thing I'd like to do under public comments is I'd like to thank the Forestry Committee for speaking up at the county board meeting last month when we talked about the boat club. That was a very important discussion that we had, and I want to thank you guys for supporting that project. Anybody else? Somebody's coming in the door, so we'll wait.
No, Howard's just bringing ballots from the town first.
Oh, okay. All right. Next, we'll go to number 5, the snowmobile ATV trail boss, Bill Chandler and Chris Hoffman.
Yeah, Bill's unable to attend. The snowmobile trails closed on March 11th. We had for the winter that we had with little snow, and we had a pretty good season. A lot of people around, no incidents, no accidents. So that's the report for snowmobiles.
Okay,
I got a question.
good. Rich?
Remember that meeting we're supposed to have and we never did? That's been over a year now.
Well, it's not been quite a year. It was October of last year.
Well, I think it was before COVID.
They sent me an email in November or December wanting to know about the meeting. I asked them to let me know when they would be available to have that meeting, and I have not heard anything from them.
So I mean, like I said, it's been almost a year. I mean, there should be something done. I mean, one way or the other, so we know if they're satisfied or if they're not satisfied. Or
Well, I've reached out to them and asked them to let me know when they want to have the meeting, and they haven't given me a date or a time or anything, so.
Oh,
Rich, do you want to call them and ask them for the meeting? And
I think still got their thing, and yeah, their number must be in here. I don't know. I'll check and see, because
you look into it and let us know,
Yeah.
okay? And if they want to be put on the agenda for next month, we'll do that.
I don't want it hanging out there. I you know, if it's supposed
Right.
to be done, it's supposed to be done. Yeah.
Good. So you'll make that contact with
Yeah,
them?
I'll see if I can get hold of somebody.
All right. Rich meeting. Number 6, Recreation Officer Bruce Jonas.
I got a report from February 1st to March 31st. We had 2 ATV citations, 8 snowmobile, written warnings for ATV was 11, snowmobile was 13. We held 2 snowmobile safety classes and 38 kids were certified. We had, just recently, we had a crash of a vehicle, nobody around it. Person walked away. 5 days later, we found him deceased. That's all I have. Vehicle, car crash. I just put it in there because it's search and rescue.
There was a lot of people that were working that incident.
A lot of law enforcement, a lot of air assets, a lot of EMS people, and then the search and rescue group. You can't say enough about them because the majority of them, if not all of them, are doing it on their own time. Some of them have their own dogs, and they have to get certified in certain aspects of whatever their dog does, and so if we didn't have those people, a lot of the stuff that happened wouldn't have.
Bruce, I got a quick question. Whenever we have a big event like that, they always talk about the chain of command and who's giving the reports and stuff like that. Does that seem to work pretty smooth for the county, or?
Yeah, that's why they set up the national, Chris, what is it, incident, I don't know what it.
Yeah.
National Incident Management System, NIMS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that kind of guides everybody how it's gonna go, and that works pretty well.
yeah, the system is I think it's very good.
If it's used, it works very well.
Correct.
Yeah,
Lots of times it doesn't get used
and then they have
and then
issues.
there's issues, but if they use the system, it functions fairly well.
When they had the big fire up at the refinery in Superior, I went to a meeting up there and they said the one thing that they had wished that could have been done was there was nobody who was the head giving information what was going on, and some were telling it this way and some were telling it that way, and it really was not.
And that's always you're walking a fine line about what, especially when it comes to law enforcement stuff, is what you want to give out and what you don't. Because, you know, people have their own opinions about what's being done, how it's being done, but there is a method, and sometimes having too many people there that just want to help causes more issues. I mean, there was a couple of times we actually had to take away resources from doing what we're doing to go get people that weren't physically able to do what they did, and then, you know, we had to go out there and get them in the woods and bring them back to so they could be looked at. So once again, with going with information and what we want to provide, you know, it's a fine line just to keep people informed. And if that's all you're really doing, you know, it's just, but people make up their own stories then, and then we have to deal with that as well.
Right.
So
if it gets going out the correct way the first time, that helps a little bit.
yes.
All right. That's enough from Bruce. So we'll go to number 7, the fish biologist. No report. Number 8 is the biologist, Jenna. No report.
Hey everyone. Sorry it's been a while since I've been here, but just to let you know, Jason Fulstad is stepping in as our fish biologist until one gets hired on, and that might be a while. I know he's out there netting or shocking or doing whatever on the ground, so if you want to include him for next month, his name is Jason Fulstad, Folstad.
Hi, this is John Wiener, supervisor.
Hi, John.
I've been trying to get through. Sorry. I'm glad to be here.
Good. We knew that you were on, so we've already marked you as here.
Okay, so we're on roll call, or where are we at?
We're on number 9.
Holy man. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So number 9 is the forester's report.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not finished.
No.
Good. Jenna.
Go ahead, Jenna.
Okay, thanks. So I guess I reported to you last month, or sent that email out about everything that's going to be completed in 2021. So right now, well, actually in 2 weeks, we'll start the drummer surveys for ruffed grouse and turkey. Those are being completed by the feds, I believe, along with the woodcock survey, which starts at the beginning of May. CDAC recommended an antlerless quota similar to last year, a 200 quota. And we have starting next week, there'll be a public comment period. If you're interested, you just have to go to the DNR webpage and type in CDAC. Another thing that's coming up is our Conservation Congress spring hearings. That'll be open on April 12th at 7 p.m. and open for 72 hours. So it's going to be completely online this year. There's quite a few different wildlife questions, fisheries questions, etc. But one question that came through the Conservation Congress that directly relates to Ashland County is one pertaining to the Enbridge's Line 5 pipeline. It's just if we're in opposition or for the pipeline. Other than that, you'll probably expect to see wildlife staff out in Ashland County a little bit more this year. We're helping with the oak planting coming up. And then we'll be doing a lot of the inventorying and mowing of openings in Ashland County.
Anything else for Jenna? Jenna, I got a quick question for you. If we're talking about sturgeon fishing, does a child from out of state have to have a $20 license, or is it different for out of state if you're a kid?
That's a good question. I don't know. As far as I know, if you're under 16, I think it is. You don't need a license, but I don't know if that's the same for out of state residents or not.
Do you know who I could call to find out for sure?
Our customer service, or maybe even Jason might know that, but customer service is, let me just look this up. Customer service is 1-888-936-7463.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Jenna? Number 9, the DNR Foresters report, Avery Jenkins.
There's one other number on here, but I don't know if it's him or not.
Ask if they can tell who they are, if you can see the number.
I guess he's unmuted, his other number, so if it was Avery, he would probably chime in. Yeah, must be somebody else's listening.
So no DNR Forester report. And next, our illustrious leader, Chris Hoffman, for the Forester report, Forester Administration report.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the main reason I wanted to have a meeting today. As everybody's probably heard, Bayfield County is in the process of signing on to a contract for a carbon project with their county forest. And a lot of other counties, including Ashland County, are looking into the whole carbon offset process and how we could create a project and potentially generate another revenue stream from the county forest. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of a quick rundown of what I know so far, and then see if there's any major concerns or issues that the committee might have in regards to a carbon project. Company that Bayfield County is working with is a company called Blue Source. They're out of California. According to their data, they're the biggest carbon project manager on public property in the United States, which is kind of unique for them. A lot of the carbon offset that's being done now is either coming off of private property or it's coming off of agricultural property. So they're kind of capitalizing on a market that nobody else has tapped into. Basically what they do is they come to the county forest and they determine how much carbon we're putting on the landscape on an annual basis. They take that carbon and they take it to a carbon market and they sell that carbon to a company that uses that to offset their carbon footprint. And then the county gets paid for that carbon that we're growing on the landscape, and then Blue Source takes a piece of that as their management fee. So it's a fairly straightforward in concept idea. It does have some additional workload for the county to do on an annual basis, and Blue Source does marketing on an annual basis. So you have to sign a 40-year project contract that says you're going to commit your county forest and the carbon that you're growing to this carbon market for 40 years. We'd have to sign a 10-year contract with Blue Source to do the management. And then at that point, all of the upfront work falls on Blue Source. they would send a forestry team here to go out on the county forest and establish carbon plots, which are basically inventory plots that we would then have to maintain on an annual basis that Blue Source uses to verify the amount of carbon that we're putting on the landscape that then they can take to market and sell. So we have to update those carbon plots every 10 years. It'd be between 200 and 300 plots. They have to be updated every 10 years. And then every 5 years, they would send an audit firm here that would basically take our data from our monitoring of those plots, and they would go out and verify that we were actually recording and monitoring the amount of carbon that we were representing. Then we have to track our timber removal, which we do anyhow. That's part of what we do with the state. So it really doesn't add any onus to us. The workload that we would get would be the monitoring of those plots on a 10-year rotating basis, and then dealing with the audit every 5 years. We would have to maintain some form of third-party certification, which we already are. We are FSC and SFI certified. That's, to me, that's probably the biggest stumbling block. The third-party certification has become pretty onerous on the counties as far as the workload that we have to shoulder to maintain that certification. So we'd be committing to carry that certification for 40 years, which obviously I'm not going to be here in 40 years. None of the staff will probably be here in 40 years. So we're making a commitment to future county forestry department staffs as well to maintain this carbon project. Once they take that carbon to market and sell it, the money comes into the county on an annual basis, basically unfettered, other than Blue Source takes their cut, which in Bayfield County, they're taking 20%, which is still leaving Bayfield County with just over $1 million a year. What I've termed passive revenue, because they're basically getting paid to do what they're getting paid to do. It hasn't changed their operations at all.
Somebody's trying to go into the building.
It doesn't change their operations at all. They're still harvesting timber, they're still selling timber, they're still managing their land base, but they're selling this carbon that they're putting onto the land base in their regeneration and their growth. So I have spoke with Blue Source. We've given them all our inventory data. I'm waiting to get a carbon analysis back from them, which is basically a ballpark estimate of what they think the project would look like. What the dollars and cents are. I'm hoping to have that before we have our next meeting so that we can all review it. That's basically it in a nutshell. That's what I know. It's much more complicated than that, but that's what Blue Source gets paid for. Just to deal with the complicated side of things.
So if you have a 40, say, as an example, that's enrolled, and they're saying this is how much carbon footprint that 40 has, but
Right.
you cut it because it's scheduled to be cut.
Correct.
Then they have to figure out what you removed.
So basically what they're gonna do is they're gonna come to Ashland County Forest, they're gonna take a snapshot of what's on the landscape as a whole. And then they're gonna take what we tell them our normal annual harvest is off of that total.
Okay.
And the difference between that harvest and that in total picture is the carbon that then is available to sell. We function at about 70% a year of growth is what we remove. So we're adding 30% to the land base every year. So that 30% piece is the piece that then they would be able to take to market and sell.
Okay. So then as you cut a 40 and they make some computation for what was cut or removed, but then the new trees start growing.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's what those plots are on the landscape for then, is to verify that.
Okay.
Because the plots are gonna fall randomly, our sales fall randomly, so every time you cut a sale, you're gonna pick up a piece of a plot or a plot that will represent that removal, but then you'll get in other plots, which you're adding to the pot of carbon.
Okay. And Bayfield County, percentage-wise, has a lot more forest than we do.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I forget their exact acreage, but it's 3 or 4 times what we've got.
Okay.
However, in talking to the Bayfield County Forest Administrator, they have a lot of even age managed type timber like aspen and jack pine, where we have a lot more northern hardwood. Northern hardwood is more appealing to the carbon market because it's just an even flow of carbon on and off the landscape. So that should help us some. as far as the dollars and cents go.
Okay.
Chris, have you got an
This is,
idea? Oh, John, did you have to say
opposite-
something?
Yeah, John, is the rigger, the forestry department have anything like this on their schedule? Or is this just Aspen County Forest doing this? Does the regular forestry department do this too? Also?
The county, right now, the counties are the only publicly managed properties in the state that are looking at this. It's on the DNR's radar, and the DNR is going through their process. The state of Michigan is looking at enrolling all of the state property in Michigan into the carbon markets. But right now, I would imagine every county forest in the state of Wisconsin is probably looking at this opportunity right now.
Okay, well, it sounds like a good project. Thank you.
Chris, have you got just a ballpark what you think the county might be able to recoup?
I don't really,
200?
it's probably gonna be less than 200 would be my guess, but it's hard to, I don't know. If I extrapolate from Bayfield County's per acre dollar amount and take that back as a percentage basis in Ashland County, put us right around $200,000. But I anticipate it'll probably be less than that, just because that's the way the world works.
Yeah,
We get it.
yeah,
But it's, you know, it would be a passive revenue stream that would just be above and beyond anything that we generated from our timber management practices that we're doing now. You know, so if in a given year we cut $600,000 worth of timber and got another $150,000 worth of carbon revenue, that's just that much more revenue coming back to the county for owning the county forest and managing the county forest.
so it's just a win-win situation.
It seems like it. It seems too good to be true.
Yeah,
I know in talking with Jason Bodine from Bayfield County, he's been working on this for about a year now. And he's been digging, trying to find that hook, trying to find the flip side that's not the good news, and he can't find it. And the guy from Blue Source told him to quit looking. It's companies like Apple and Google and Microsoft that want to represent to their investors that they're carbon neutral, that they're doing this.
That's where I seen this at.
So it's just kind of a feel-good cash flow kind of thing right now that.
So what it basically does is we give them the credit for being the good guys. They're emitting the carbon and we're kind of trading our savings for
Yeah.
them. So
yeah,
they, like you say, they can go to their stockholders and say, hey, look what we're doing.
yeah.
We're
Even
going
though they're
green.
admitting it, you know, or,
Right.
but yeah. But if it helps the county, it helps the county.
Yeah, yeah.
Chris, do you know if the state Bureau of Land, whatever they call themselves, is looking at this as well?
They are looking at it. I was originally under the impression that they were gonna try to put together a project. But the way I understood it, there's so much independence to the management of the state lands right now that they're trying to figure out the best way to handle that. So like you've got Flambeau River State Forest is managed by a group of people, and that's their baby, that's their thing to do, and whether or not they're
Yeah.
involved, where their level of commitment to involvement lies, the state in Madison hasn't come out and just said, we're gonna do this.
Oh.
They're kind of touchy-feeling their way through it at this point, but the state of Michigan is in the middle of developing a project, is my understanding.
That should be a pretty big block of land, I would think.
Correct. And the state DNR legal team has reviewed this process, and they've signed off on it and said it doesn't violate any of the state statutes as far as county forests are concerned. So we're in the clear, apparently, according to the DNR, in relation to chapter 28 of state statute. So that's kind of what I was waiting for. Bayfield County was waiting for, to find out if the state was going to sign off on the legalities of the county being able to do it. But because it's such a passive thing and you're only getting paid for what you're already doing, it doesn't alter or change your management of your property at all. State legal has decided it really doesn't violate anything in chapter 28, so.
It doesn't affect any of the snowmobile trails or
Nope.
ATV trails that could be going through there?
It shouldn't affect, the only thing it is tied to or related to is the timber itself.
Is
So it
there,
really should not have an impact, say on, the recreational side of things.
Is there a time limit of when you can apply for this or?
No, there's not really a time limit. There is a time frame, however. Once we get a carbon proposal from them, if we decide as a county that we want to move forward with it, then we have to negotiate a contract, a 10-year contract with this Blue Source company. Once that's signed, then they start the process of developing the monitoring plots and determining the exact amount of carbon that they can take to market. They did say that that could take anywhere from 12 to 24 months. So once we get to the point where we've negotiated a contract with them, we're looking at a minimum of a year before we see any of the revenue.
Oh, okay.
Bayfield County is going to probably sign sometime this month their contract, and they don't anticipate any revenue until the end of 2022.
No.
By the time they actually get the carbon to market and get it sold.
Okay.
So, and I wanted to inform the committee of what we were working on, and I wanted to know if there was any major concerns or pushback on the idea, or you guys are comfortable with us moving ahead with the process. We're obviously not committed to anything at this point. We're just in the learning stages right now, so.
It'd be like pulling money out of the air, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, that's
hey.
good.
Basically what it is.
Money's falling from the sky.
Yeah. It's growing on trees.
Chris,
Well, yeah, I pursue it.
Chris, I think the committee would like you to pursue it and go forward with it and bring
Okay.
back some more information for us.
Okay, I'm hoping by the next meeting I'll have their initial carbon analysis back from them. They said it would take about 3 weeks, that was a week ago, that they've gotten all our information, so I'm hoping in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have that carbon analysis back from them as to whether or not they feel there's a project to be had here. After talking with the guy at Blue Source, he thought there would be a project. It was big enough land base and big enough volume of carbon to be able to take it to market, so.
Okay. Anything else for Chris? All right, then we'll go on to B, approval to sell timber sales.
You know, I'm asking the committee's approval to put timber sales up for bid in June, just in case we don't have a meeting in May for some reason.
I'll make that motion that we give Chris permission to make some timber sales.
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Yeah, so you second it too.
Yeah.
Is that just a, I mean, it comes before us to sell it though, right? I mean, you just don't put it out and then sell it right away.
Well, we put the bid prospectus together, we advertise it, we take the bids. We'll open the bids the day before the next committee meeting in June. And then we'll bring a summary to the committee of the bids that the sales we got sold and the bid amounts for the committee approval at that point.
Okay, because is the timber market really low yet?
Yes, it is.
I mean, would it be better for us just to wait for a while, see if it goes up a little bit for like a month or two or so, or no?
We've got so much wood on the books already,
Oh,
and we've got so much wood that we need to keep selling in order to stay on track with our management plan, that we feel it would be beneficial to sell some sales now. We're gonna hold some of the better sales for a later bid opening, but we also need to put timber on the market that's affordable for the loggers to cut to.
okay.
If we lose our loggers, then we're gonna lose our timber sale program. So we need to offer them wood that they can bid at a competitive rate for the markets that they're working in right now, as well as the wood that we've already got sold that's significantly more expensive to them. So it kind of
Hey, Chris.
balances out.
Okay,
This is John Reader, supervisor.
Go ahead, John.
Hey, Chris, is there any future way that we can take, on these contracts, take a little bit of money aside on them for like, road maintenance and, anything that would be very important? Is there any way that you can separate anything like that to help us out a little bit more?
So on our timber sale contracts, we take a performance bond. It's a percentage of the value of the bid or the contract, and we hang on to that. So if we do have road issues or damage issues or basically any issues underneath the terms of that contract, we've got some recourse for money to repair and fix those issues. So we're already taking a percentage of that contract and setting it aside. And then after the contract is done and we've inspected the sale and signed off that there's no damages, we return that money to the bidder at that time. So we do take, I think it's 15%, and set that aside for those issues that may occur during the life of a contract.
I see, because I had Iron County, I went through their meetings and they, I got them granted some gravel for us, but I was just never did hear anything if the Ashland County Forestry would help us out on any of them situations. I see that you're brushing the roads and stuff like that, but money for the roads somehow down the road would be nice to help maintain them roads, but I guess I realize that they're from the truckers and the loggers. But that's just an issue that I would like to push out someday if you could help us a little bit more on maintaining the roads somehow.
Sure.
Thank
Well,
you.
as far as the town roads go, we're working with all the towns to develop an open permitted gravel pits within the county forest. So the towns will have access to basically free gravel stumpage to do road maintenance on. The forestry department, within the bounds of our budget, will also buy culverts for road projects that are being done within the bounds of the county forest. So we're doing what we can do. We're also doing the herbicide project starting this year to help towns that once they get their right of ways brushed open, will help to maintain those right of ways so they don't grow shut again. So we're doing what we can do within the bounds of our budget to be able to assist the towns to maintain those roads.
Okay, well, thank you very much for trying to help out our townships. Our township sure could use a little bit of help, so thank you.
Absolutely.
The other point there though too, John, is town of Jacobs just got a check for, I believe, $23,000 roughly. That's their annual 10%. That money technically is supposed to be for the town's ability to take care of those roads in the township that are in the county forest.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll bring that to the meetings next time and see if the township can do a little bit better too.
Sure, thanks, sir.
And we're willing to help
Thank you.
wherever we can. Any town that has an issue or has an idea, we're always open to those ideas and try to help. Obviously, we're confined by the constraints of our budget and our time and our workload. So, but we will help wherever we can. We've done other things in the past for the towns to try to help. So, communication is the big thing. Two-way street on the communication and keeping us informed of what the issues are.
And John, one more thing, in the vouchers today, there was a list of all the towns that got their annual stumpage or gravel, or what do you call it?
It's a stumpage.
Yeah, so if you've been here, you would have seen that 4 or 5 towns got a nice check for an annual thing from the.
Okay, now is that just the one for the whole year? You don't get any more at all. That's the final check for the year, right?
We cut one check a year. After the year is completed, we get all the timber sale documents closed out, then we calculate that payment and then have the clerk's office cut those checks. They usually come in March or April.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. So we have a motion from Kathy and a second by John to give Chris permission to put up some timber sales. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Motion carries.
I did have one part I wanted to.
Sure.
Is this level of sales approximately our historic level? You know what I mean? Not up, down.
Correct. We use a data management program that the state created for us. We used to maintain a big 3-ring binder full of paper documents. It's all been digitized on the computer now. Net generates a cutting schedule for us every year. Then it averages between 900 and 1,200 acres a year. It kind of moves back and forth based on the year and what we got done the year before. And then Matt and Jerome and the DNR go out and look at each of those individual stands and make a determination on whether or not there's ready to harvest. So say the schedule generates an amount of 1,000 acres, we might put up 800 or 900 acres and make the determination on 200 or 300 acres that they're not quite ready. And that's the process we use every year. So it stays pretty, even. We don't get a lot of the big spikes up and down, but there might be a variation from year to year depending on what they find on the ground, where maybe one year there's 500 acres that's not ready, and maybe the next year all the acres that show up are ready. But it's fairly consistent then. And that's another reason to kind of want to stay on track with the sales that we offer, so we don't end up with a big chunk of sales at some point in time or a lack of sales at some point in time. We're kind of picking and choosing what we're going to sell when that makes sense for the market and what the loggers need and what's accessible for the season that they're going into. But we're going to, we want to try to keep it as even as we can.
Yeah, I can see that now. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Good question.
The only other thing that I would like to talk to the committee about is, I don't know if everybody noticed, the street is torn up out in front of the office and saw the voucher for the sewer project. Our sewer lateral failed this spring. Our lateral is tied into the neighbor's lateral for some reason. So both ours and the neighbor's sewer lateral failed. We had a local plumber come with a snake to try to open it for us. He broke his $1,000 snake trying to open it for us. So then we had to hire Howard Brothers out of Minocqua to come over there. The only ones in the area with equipment big enough to deal with the frost. So they were able to tear up the blacktop and the sidewalk and the ground and get the sewers up and running so that they're functional, but it's just a patch. Once the signs come down and things dry up, they're gonna come back and tear up the whole street to get to the sewer main. And they're gonna put in 2 laterals, so the neighbors will have their own lateral and we'll have our own lateral and hopefully not have to deal with this anymore. So there's like a $6,000 bill in the vouchers right now, and there'll be another big bill coming at some point in June or July when they come back to actually make that final repair. And the plan is to use our non-lapsing stumpage money to pay for that. And I've talked to Clark about that, about doing a budget amendment to move that money from the one account over so we can pay that. And he said at some point this summer, he'll do a budget amendment for all the departments that need budget amendments. So the budget amendment is in the works, and there's probably going to be another $5,000 to $10,000 worth of work that has to be done before the sewer is complete and put back together. But I just wanted to give you guys an update on what was going on there.
What about, you don't know how old your water line is, do you?
I believe the water line, when they redid County Highway F, there was new water line brought into the office.
Oh, cause see, as long as you got the road open, you could put a new line in for water and then you'd be done.
But that would be something definitely to review, as long as we're gonna have the road opened up.
Yeah.
And the sidewalk.
So that'd be a time to do it.
Wasn't that many years ago, they redid the whole lot of this stuff through here, didn't they?
See, I'm not familiar with Butternut, but.
Yeah, it was 8 or 10 years ago. And
Oh.
for some reason, they left that main co-joined. Obviously, it's not up to state code, but they left it co-joined when they did that work. And Howard Brothers was of the opinion that when they did that work is probably when that main got broke. And it's just taken this long that it actually got to the point where it failed.
Oh.
So we had sewer in our office
Oh, yeah.
a month or so ago.
Yeah.
So we had to, that's why we had them come and do a patch to make sure it was working. And the neighbors, they couldn't use their sewer at all. For a weekend, they weren't able to use their sewer in their house.
Yeah, that's no fun at all.
That's a pain.
Yeah, yeah.
All
And
right.
that's all I have unless anybody has any questions.
Any other questions for Chris?
Can't think of any.
No. So next we'll go to number 12, approve and sign the expense vouchers.
I'll
Hey,
make the-
Kathy, can I go back to 11? I forgot about the other business.
Sure, you can, John.
Okay, I would like the question for Chris. Chris, when you do your spraying on Madison County Forest, there's probably a certain time that you do it for like the new growth, or when the spraying, what does that really involve? Does that kill all the grass and the new growth along that Madison County Forestry roads?
We don't technically spray any of our county forest roads now. The only herbicide work that we do right now is in an attempt to control garlic mustard, which is out in the forest. Jerome and Matt are pretty crafty at putting together herbicide mixtures that will only target the species that we want to target. they can put together a herbicide that'll kill grass but not kill trees, or vice versa. So we use a very specific mix when we go after the garlic mustard. It's a pretty strong herbicide that we use to try to get a foothold on that, but we don't do any road spraying at this point. These projects that we're going to be working on this summer will be developed on a, per case, per site basis to address whatever the issue is, if it's grasses and sedges or if it's woody brush. So they'll be able to tailor a herbicide mix to that particular piece of road.
So when you find this garlic mustard, you have crews that go in there and they just spray at certain areas to keep it controlled, or how does that work?
When we find garlic mustard, our first line of defense is hand pulling. Matt and Jerome work with the state and they put together a large group of individuals who go out to county forest wherever the mustard is growing, and they pull it all by hand. And they GPS every spot that they find the garlic mustard. So they go back then and then they spray that area. Garlic mustard seed is supposed to be viable for 7 years. We found it's viable for 15 years at least. So it becomes an ongoing project every spring. Garlic mustard is one of the first things that greens up. So Matt and Jerome here in the next month and a half will be out doing garlic mustard surveys in the places where we know it exists. And then they'll be organizing with the state personnel to go out and hand pull all of first year plants. The garlic mustard doesn't put on seed until it's 2 years old. So if we pull the 1-year-old plants and get them off the landscape, they don't have the opportunity to turn into 2-year-old seed bearing plants. But by the time we find garlic mustard, there's typically enough seed on the ground that it becomes a 15 or 20-year project.
So is that funded by the Ashland County Forestry, or is that funded by the state?
That's funded by Ashland.
And there's no state help or anything like that, no federal help for that program.
Correct. It all comes out of our budget. We budget for it every year.
Okay, well, thank you for doing everything then.
At some point, it will become economically not viable to try to do it. I know I drive Matt and Jerome nuts because I'm fairly aggressive with thought process, but they're the guys that go out and put the sweat equity in. So at some point, it could become non-viable to try to maintain it, and then we'll just have to live with it.
Because I would like to get a hold of Mary Jo, and I'm on a land and conservation, and we're very much into that their mustard seed and stuff. And she's trying to get some grants. So if grants would be available, that would be very appreciated to help out Ashland County Forestry. So I will check on that for you also. So I know there's some grants out there that are being made for these mustard seeds and the invasive species that's going around on these lakes.
Sure.
So I will check on that for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
This is Avery Janke. This is Avery. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I apologize. I wasn't on earlier. I thought we were meeting at 9 today, but I'm here now. Can I give you a quick update?
You sure can.
All right. So what has DNR been working on? Well, on the county forest, we've been working on setting up a couple of sales. One of them we're looking to put out for bid this spring, and that's a pine sale. It's one of the stronger products right now. So we're thinking that one's going to sell. So we're happy about that. Just kind of continuing to look for ways to make an impact on the county forest. As a reminder, I'm pretty new to the position. I started in December of last year. This spring, we'll be helping with a tree planting project. So the state will be, providing some extra help for that. We've got some people in the fire program lined up that are willing to help, and also possibly some staff from Copper Falls State Park that have offered to lend a hand. As you guys have probably heard, it is fire season right now. Not so much today with the rain, but that was some much needed rain. But statewide, the numbers are definitely up right now. We've burned about 1,400 acres already in the state this year. And if you look back at the past few years, we didn't even break 1,000 acres the past few years. So, you know, and that's the reason for that is just the warm weather we've been having, the early snow melt, and a couple of weekends with really low humidities, high winds, things like that. But looking at Ashland County specifically, we're talking about only 3 acres burned, mostly on the north end of the county, where typically it's snow-free earlier in the year. Price County has burned about 9 acres. And lastly, there's one new employee working out of Mellon that we might see working on the county forest from time to time. They're an APHIS employee. Their name is Dylan Levar. And so if we have issues with beavers or bears or things like that, they would be the main contact. So kind of nice that they'll be working out of Mellon. Hopefully we can develop that relationship a little bit better. But my 2 cents on the carbon credit program, I think it's pretty exciting. And yeah, like Chris mentioned, it sounds like it's too good to be true, but you know, we don't want to miss out on an opportunity that's kind of staring us in the face. So pretty exciting stuff. So that's all for now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Avery. So now we'll go back to number 12, approve and assign the expense vouchers, but if Tom, thank you.
I'm
We had a
psychic.
question on Bill Chandler's $2,600 that he got for the month.
Yep, the reason that there's just the one payment, Kathy forgot to drop off 1 month's payment request. So the
Okay,
reason it's $2,600 is actually a 2-month payment just put on 1 month.
okay, so it's for March and April, or February and March?
Yes, February, March.
February and March, okay. Good, that, we just wanted to clarify that. So we're looking for a motion to, in a second for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the expense voucher.
I'll second it.
And so a motion by Gary and second by John to pay the vouchers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
other discussion? I should have done that a little quicker. Any other questions? No. Okay, motion passes. And number 13 is we'll set the date for the next meeting. Should we set it for May and see if we need it?
Yeah, I would like to do that.
Okay.
We've
So,
got some rec grant applications coming in. They were supposed to be in by the end of March, but with all the COVID nonsense going on, I told them, get them to me as quick as they can.
okay,
I may not have the review done for May. If that's the case, then I'll probably push it back till June.
okay,
But if I get the review done, we'll have it in May so we can get those people their checks
okay,
if we approve them.
good deal. All right, so the first Wednesday in May would be May 5th?
That's what it says on here.
Yeah. All right, so does that work for everybody? Nobody's going to Florida?
No, no, we're all going to Wisconsin.
And the meeting will be at 8 o'clock. All right, and now we need a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Marty makes the motion.
I'll second.
Rich seconds the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.